Hi, I'm Christian Brindle, and welcome to the Everything Medicare Podcast.
What's up, Everything Medicare Podcast Nation? This is Christian Brindle. Hope this finds you doing well, wherever you are and however you might be listening today. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, folks. And my voice is still down in the dumps. Very, very, very frustrating to me, folks. This is episode 159. We're going to be breaking this down into two segments like we did on Saturday, just to let my voice recover a little bit, my throat, my scratchiness, okay? Like I mentioned, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. And there's multiple things in our lives that we find frustrating. I'll give you an example. Me having trouble talking clearly, effectively with my voice is frustrating. And I equivalent that over to people that sign up for programs that don't know everything about it, that primarily, have little tiny things involved in the coverage that they're not particularly aware of, that they end up getting burned for later. One thing that we always do in our offices is anytime we look at a Medicare Advantage plan, we try to make sure we're going through every little crook and cranny of the details to make sure that, one, it's going to be the best option for that person. And two, if it is the best option for that person, but it has one or two primary limitation, that we're mentioning that to them, that we're telling them about it, that we're making them aware about it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today on today's episode. Medicare Advantage plans, as many of you know, especially if you've been listening to this podcast for some time, have a lot of working parts, a tremendous amount actually. Whether it be the prescription coverage, and you have to deal with the formularies and different kind of exclusions and, prior authorizations, quantity limits, things like that come with the prescription coverage. You have networks to deal with. You have every single program having different copays for different services. Some plans having dental vision hearing, some don't have dental vision hearing, some having a ton, some having very little. It really just depends. But I think we can all agree that Medicare Advantage plans have very, very detailed and different aspects and working parts that people need to deal with. There are three things that I believe that I see people sign up for Medicare Advantage plans and not realize that they have these limitations in their programs until it's too late. And these are things that I believe that you need to be looking for when you're when you're making a selection, and you should be looking for in your current plan right now to see if their plan has any of these limitations. Now, can a plan have one of these limitations and still be the best thing for you? Yes, absolutely. And the reason for that is because Medicare Advantage plans are area-based. They're based on where you live. They're based on the area. So it could be that the plan might have one of these three limitations and it still be the best thing for you based on what's available where you live. But that being said, it's just to make you aware that if a program that is beneficial for you does exist in your particular market, in your particular area, that does not have these three particular limitations, that would be preferable, in my opinion. I think that would be something that would be preferable. Like I said, folks, Medicare Advantage plans have a lot of working parts. Some of you might think that I'm going to be talking about network size, not necessarily. Some people might think I'm going to be talking about having very little dental vision hearing, not necessarily. These are three things that you don't see every day, and some of them you see more often than others. But I think it's vastly important that you make sure that you're picking a plan that does not have these particular limitations. I need to take a quick break, hear from our sponsor, and then I will go into depth onto what these three things are. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking with me through that break. Let's get into these three things, okay? There are some Medicare Advantage plans in certain markets that we've encountered. And so they do exist. Now, they are few and far between. So please keep this in mind. It's not common that you're going to run into an Advantage plan that has this first thing I'm going to talk about, but that is a medical deductible. There are certain Medicare Advantage plans that have medical deductibles. Now, some only apply these medical deductibles if you go out of network in the form of a PPO. Others have the medical deductible in network. So it kind of just depends. It is very rare. It is few and far between. It's most likely that 90% of the time, an Advantage plan is simply going to have a copay for a particular medical service. Okay. So it's not to say that you're going to run into this all the time, but I do see certain instances and certain situations, folks, that sometimes a plan will have it. And sometimes the insurance companies push those plans pretty heavily through advertising, marketing, mailers, and things like that. I'll give you an example. There's a plan in my home market that has $1,000 medical deductible. No one should buy that, right? That being said, it does have a perk. It has about $1,700 of preventative and comprehensive dental built into the plan. So there's a tremendous positive in the plan, and there's a tremendous negative associated with the plan. So, does that mean that no one should buy a plan with a medical deductible? No, there are certain situations where it's going to be fine if maybe you don't need the medical benefits as much and the dental is more important to you in that particular situation. But in my opinion, I think that a majority of people would prefer not to have that medical deductible. Number one, medical deductible. If you can avoid it, avoid it. And there's very, very few plans that have medical deductible, so it should be fairly easy to avoid for most of you listening. Number two is a referral. It's common that a lot of HMO plans, not all, I did an episode about this last year to distinguish the difference that not all HMOs have referrals. It's not a blanket statement, okay? But a good portion, I should say, of HMO plans, especially in certain markets, it does depend on where you live. A lot of HMO plans in Florida, for example, will have referrals. However, a majority of HMO plans in my home market in Utah do not. So it kind of just depends on where you're listening to this from. But if you can get a plan that doesn't have a referral and still it be a good option for you in the other aspects of what you need, whether it be prescription coverage, having your doctors in the network, having the good medical benefits, and having the extra benefits that you so desire on the Medicare Advantage plans, it'd be nice to not have to have that referral. A referral, in my opinion, is a pain in the butt. So if you can get around that without having that referral, it's a nice thing. Now, there's a lot of clients of ours that have plans that have referrals for one of two reasons. Number one, they don't care. They'd go to their doctor anyway to get a referral. So it's not a downside for them. Whether they had the referral requirement or not, they would still go to their primary care physician to get a referral because they like that recommendation. They value the opinion. Okay. Number two, a plan that has a referral is just head and shoulders better in every conceivable way for somebody than the plans available that don't have referrals. And we run into that. And so we let them know, hey, we can do a plan that doesn't have a referral, but you're going to sacrifice this benefit, this benefit, this benefit. This benefit's going to be half of what you could get with the referral plan. And sometimes people choose to have the better benefits and the better plan and have the referral. It's based on your personal preference. But if you can find two plans that are relatively equal, that they both suit your needs very close to each other, and one has a referral and one doesn't, I would say you'd be better off with a plan that doesn't require the referral. Referral, again, meaning getting a referral from your primary care physician in order to see a specialist. And in some cases, depending on the insurance company and depending on the plan, it's every time. Every doctor, Some insurance companies are more lenient with this than others. It kind of just depends, but it's nice to be able to just go where you want to go in network without having that kind of restriction. So that's number 2, referrals. Number 3, I would say, is having limited access to doctors and pharmacies. It's very, very important, folks, that you have a Medicare Advantage plan that does not come with a tremendously tiny network. I've seen people that will sign up for Advantage plans with Joe Namath or some TV commercial. They'll be sold a plan. They don't know anything about it. They weren't told any of the negatives about it by someone in a call center somewhere, by a 1-800 number. And they get enrolled into a plan that has 5% of the doctors in their area. I had one person that dealt with this. That was a client of mine years ago. He had a specific condition, and he needed a very specific specialist. If he went with one plan in the market that was available that wasn't even offered to him, he would have had 25 different specialists in his market that he could go see. This was a very unique situation, a very unique condition. So there wasn't a whole lot of doctors that could do it, but he could have 25 in this market that he could go see. But with the plan he enrolled, there was only one in the network, and it was 3 hours away from him. He was stuck on the plan till open enrollment. He had to deal with that all year. You don't want to sign up for a plan with a tremendously tiny network. And it's not just doctors and hospitals, folks. It's also pharmacies. You want a plan that lets you go to more pharmacies than not, in my opinion. I think you're better off with a plan that lets you go to multiple different pharmacies, especially if you're traveling. You might be in an area where a CVS is available, but a Walmart's not, or vice versa. Or you can find a Kroger store or a Publix, depending on where you live. More pharmacies are better than less. A lot of plans have what's known as preferred pharmacies and non-preferred pharmacies. And sometimes they can make a tremendous difference as far as what you pay out of pocket and your copays for your medications. So big networks is number 3. Is something you need to have. Small networks is something you need to avoid, okay? Small doctor and hospital networks is something you should run from every single time, in my personal opinion, folks. So let's review. Number 1, medical deductibles. They do exist. Few and far between, but they do exist. Number 2, referrals, if you can help it. Number 3, you want to avoid small networks on your Medicare Advantage plan, both in the doctor world and in the pharmacy world, in my personal opinion. Choices means power. The more choices you have, the better off you're going to be. The more options you have as far as where you can go to the doctor and the hospital, the better off you're going to be with your Medicare Advantage plan. Thanks so much for listening to this, folks. I hope you got something positive out of it. I'm really, 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 really hoping that my voice is back to normal by Wednesday. Keep your fingers crossed for me. If it is, we'll have a regular 3-segment episode, and it will be much longer. And I'm sure I'll be more pleasant to listen to. Until next time, folks, appreciate your support. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful Monday and start to your week. Take care now.